Max Park just went to another cubing competition, which means we have a new world record. Not only did he destroy the semi-7 single and average WRs, but he got this amazing 4.86 average WR for 2x3. It's pretty incredible to see the back and forth between Timon and Max. First Max gets a WR average, but then Timon beats it by 0.2. Max Park takes it back by 0.01. Then Timon beats it again, and Max just tied it with this average. So let's see how he did it. Looking around, it immediately is pretty easy for red. There's two solved cross edges. There's a free pair. There's a free edge on the E layer. Then you have these two last edges. So here's how he did it. First set up this to solve this one. But before you put it in, also put in this edge right here. So the cross is almost done, like that. And if you notice, that preserved this pair the entire time. Now if you remember from before, this edge was solved in the E layer, which means if you put the corner in with the cross, we can create an X cross. So that corner is right here. So if you do a D prime and insert this corner here, we now have the block, and then from our D prime, we have the X cross. Now that we have the X cross, we have the free pair from before, so we can solve it right here. Then there's a few options. You can solve this pair, which I think is pretty good, and you don't need to regrip, something like this. Then rotate to solve the last pair. You can skip Olo here, and then just a J-perm, which is a pretty nice solution, but that's not what he did. Instead, I think he solved this pair first. Now for this pair, there's a few ways to do it also. You can solve it like this, but he chooses to rotate first. Solve it like this, and then insert it through the back, like this. Finally, for the last pair, you can solve it a few ways. You can rotate and solve it like this, but he does the setup first. And then solves this pair with F moves to avoid the rotation. Then Olo, and he got pretty lucky with a PLO skip. So that's the first solve, 4.62. Pretty lucky, it was a 41 move solution, which is quite low, but because he had a bit of a mistake in the beginning, and only around 9 TPS, this solve probably could have been faster. Alright, here's Scramble 2. Looking at the Scramble, the most obvious choices. Yellow, there's 3 pieces, these 2 pieces are solved, this is almost solved, and the last piece is here. Another good choice I think would have been orange. There's a free pair here in the back, and you can kinda solve these 2 edges while preserving this pair. But he chose to do yellow. The easiest cross solution is you put this here, and you do R2, T prime, R2. But with easy crosses, you want to look for X crosses, or any better solutions that make a free pair. And like before, there is an edge in the E layer, which means that if we insert the corner along with the cross, we can make an X cross with this. So that corner is here, which is in a pretty awkward place, so he first brings it up, while bringing this edge to the back. Then he solves the cross with D prime, R, D prime, R prime. That's solving the cross. Then he inserts this corner. Then with the final D prime, that's the X cross, with the corner edge solved. This is a pretty awkward position. Usually don't want to have solved F12 pairs in front. So Max rotates to try to find another pair. And I'm very impressed with how he found this pair. He sees this corner, and then this edge in the back. This seems like the best pair to do from this angle. For me, it's pretty hard to recognize that this is the pair in the back. But Max is just really good with tracking the pieces. So he knew this was there, and immediately solved this pair by bringing it out, and then inserting it. This pair is doable rotationless, but there's also this pair. I think Max solved this pair first. First put that slot in the back, like this. That way it's easier to solve this final pair. And just set up this pair, and then solve it in the back. Then for this last pair, it's pretty straightforward. Take it out, and now it's set up to an easy insert. Now when inserting this, he has this Olo, so if he wanted, he could have cancelled the lefty version of this Olo, like this. Which gives a G-perm, which is pretty nice. But instead, he just inserts it, and then does the Olo separately. U prime, and then F sexy F prime here. Then he has an F perm. Even though that solution was quite long, 60 moves around, he turned really fast, around 12.5 turns per second, which is insane, to get a 4.78. Here's his third solve of 5.68, which is his worst solve, but it's still not a bad solve at all. At first glance, white is okay. There's a line and 2 pieces here, but you need some double moves to insert these pieces, and there aren't that many visible pairs. So what Max chooses to do is go with blue, which seems like a better choice. So the cross seems pretty easy. In 3 moves, you can create 3/4 of the cross. And from the first move, you can notice that it creates this block. And as shown before, whenever you have a solved edge in the E layer, or a solved corner on the bottom layer, you want to make an X cross from there. So that's what he does. He does D prime, oh, F prime. And for the orange white edge, it's over here. So to insert this to its slot in the back and solve this cross edge at the same time, he does U prime, R, U prime, R prime. Solves the cross edge and solves the piece in the back. While solving that last part, there is a free pair that was broken, but it still is a free pair after the X cross is finished. So he goes right into this pair, like this. This is a pretty good position. He's able to solve both pairs without rotating at all. And these two edges are actually oriented correctly, meaning that he can solve the rest of the F12 rotationless. For example, maybe solving this first, and back, and then solving this pair. But instead, he rotates immediately, not sure why, and he decides to solve this pair next. And the way he solves it is like this. Breaks it up, and then solves it in the back. Then here's the last pair. A few ways you can solve it. You can rotate first and then insert it like that. But Max seems to want to set up the pair first, like this, and then solve it through the back. Now I'm not sure what his thought process was for the last layer here. Instead of doing OLO, he does F, sexy F prime to get the edges. Not sure if he was going for the ZBLO. Then he does a U, U prime. Maybe he was trying to go for a ZBLO and this is not a ZBLO he knows. Then does OLO. And then to finish off, a U prime. The solve was also a lot of moves, 60 moves. The beginning was pretty good, but then he had some unnecessary cube rotations for the F12. And the last layer was a bit weird. But with 10 TPS, he still made this a 5.68 solve, which is still incredible. Alright, onto the fourth solve, 5.19. Here there aren't too many lines other than with white. This is solved. You can do one move to solve this piece, and then a few more to solve these two. So white cross looks pretty simple. For the first F12 pair, it doesn't seem like there's too much going on. There's no blocks or any solved edges in the E layer or solved corners in the bottom layer that you can make easily. So what I would do is try to track first pair, and that seems like what Max was doing as well. With executing from this angle, it seems like this is the easiest pair to spot. And I think he was going for this one, but I'm not sure. Maybe he was going for this pair. It's hard to tell, but this is how I interpreted his solution. First solve this cross edge. And then this piece has to go here, so do a D2 to get that there. And then just R prime, D prime, R solves the cross. But then obviously you want to make some first pair. And since this is the most accessible pair, you do R prime, D prime. And before you do the last R, do a U, R. And that sets up this pair. Or, I would have never saw this, but maybe Max did. He sees this corner and this edge from before, and to pair it, it's just like that. So he kind of cancels it from here. R prime, D prime, U, R. So same solution as before, but to make this pair. So yeah, I'm not sure if it was going for this pair or this pair, but he definitely wanted to influence one of these pairs during the cross. D prime to finish this cross. I would do this pair first for sure, because then this pair is still free. But instead he chooses to solve this pair to the back first, which breaks up this pair. He still chooses to do this next, so he connects them like this, and then solves it in its place. Then he decides to go for this pair, and again this shows how Max Sparks are really good at knowing what's in the back slot. I would have never known that this paired with this, but he quickly realized that they can pair together from the back like this, and can be inserted very easily like this. Then the last pair is pretty straightforward, just a simple pair here. For OLO, it was this pretty simple OLO. These are opposite colors and these are the same colors, so you can note pretty easily that you're going to get a pretty bad PLO, an opposite corner one. But luckily he got the best one out of the opposite corner ones, which is a white perm. That solve was also a lot of moves, 65, but still his incredible turning, along with his amazing look ahead, made this solve of 5.19. Now for the last solve, this is a 4.5 second solve, and this is the solve that clutched the WR average. So here there are some lines to start with. There's yellow, red, blue, there's a few colors that look okay, but he decides to go with green here. So the first obvious thing to do in this cross is you can put this green edge to the side, and do that to solve 3 edges, and then this last one should be pretty easy to solve. But while doing that, first bring this edge to the side, he notices that doing an L prime can create this pair, which will be preserved for the rest of the cross. I'm not sure why, but he did a U move here as well, My best guess is he was going for a second pair as well. So he was planning to do this as his first pair, and he noticed that there's also this pair. So he brought it to the side to preserve it for the next pair. Then he solves this cross edge like planned, and then finally puts in this cross edge. So as planned, this is the first pair that was free. I would have cancelled right into this pair, but instead he rotates to put the empty slots in front, then solves this. Maybe just to make it look ahead a bit better for the front pairs. Then he solves this pair. The most obvious pair to do next is this one. So he sets it up like this. And you could rotate here to do the pair. But something to notice is that the last F12 pair, this edge is oriented on the top layer, which means if you rotate to solve this pair, then you have to rotate again to solve this pair, which is not preferred. So instead he does F moves to insert this pair, which Max does a lot, and I think it's pretty smart. This way the last pair is rotationless. And then for Olo, he gets this very nice fat tune. And then PLO skip again on the last solve. That PLO skip came in really clutch. The F12 took quite a bit of moves, so he kind of needed it to get a good average. And luckily he did get pretty lucky and got a PLO skip here. The solve ended up being 51 moves with 11 TBS. So yeah, there's Max Park's 4.86 average. With T1's average, it seems like he's more efficient, builds more X crosses and double X crosses, and uses more ZBLO. With this average, Max Park is a bit less efficient, but he just turns so quickly, has amazing look ahead, and in this average in particular, he got pretty lucky with some PLO skips. So I can't wait to see the future of this event, with all these talented cubers pulling off these amazing times. So thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.